And we're live. Welcome to the Side by Side podcast with Dimari Swanagain and Brandon Rizzo. How you feeling today, my man?
I'm feeling great, bro. How are you, man?
Good. It's a beautiful day in Austin here in Austin, Texas. About 80, 85 degrees outside. The sun is shining. We got South by Southwest Festival in town.
Yes.
But mainly wanted to start off by welcoming everybody to the podcast.
Side by Side podcast.
The inaugural first installment, first episode. And we wanted to start off by just kind of telling you a little bit about what this is about here. So Side by Side, Dimari and Brandon, we are here to hopefully create unity through diversity by bringing on interesting guests each week, two people, maybe completely different walks of life or different backgrounds, and create a conversation around just life and all of its wonderful experience.
Yeah, and all the taboo topics, right? We want to get into politics, finance, religion, spirituality, all the things they tell you not to talk about at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
That's what we want to talk about here at Side by Side podcast, and hopefully, like Rizzo said, or Brandon, is bring some unity in diversity. And sometimes these people are going to look alike on the surface. Sometimes they're not going to look alike at all, but they may have more similarities than dissimilarities as far as what meets the eye. So we're excited.
Yeah, very excited. So let's get into it a little bit. I think it's apropos to start off this first podcast talking a little bit about what went into the genesis of us getting together and creating this. We've been friends for about 12 years now, 11 years now.
Yeah, 12 years a slave.
Yeah, going on 12 years. And we really didn't, if it wasn't for a job that brought us together, I don't think any of this would have happened, which is crazy because, you know, all the years that we've been friends, you've been in my wedding, like you've my wife as long as me. So it's wild, and basically the story. I mean, I'll start it. You tell your side, obviously, but we were working for Apple back in the day, and in the break room of the Apple store, there would be like these computers. People could have their own little login, their own desktop and stuff. And on the backdrop of my desktop, I had my band's logo. It's this big giant like FP. My band was called Fly Phoenix. Shout out to the guys from Fly Phoenix.
Shout out.
Actually going to be in Nick's wedding this year. My guy who I founded the band with.
Shout out to Nick.
Shout out to Nick.
Yeah.
But anyways, I was sitting there on my computer. I'm doing whatever on my break, watching YouTube and shit. And you looked over and you saw my band's logo on the backdrop, and you were like, "Fly Phoenix? I know that band. My friend's in that band."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Your friend's in that band?" I was like, "That's my band."
No, I was like, yo, that's my homie's band. And you're like, that's my band. I was like, oh, okay. He's like, who's your homie? I'm like, Bryant. And you're like, that's my band.
Yeah.
But it was so crazy because just to kind of add some more context, it's like that was a pretty big Apple store. So it's like hundreds of employees there. And, you know, sometimes you overlap with people and you may never actually talk to them.
Yeah.
And we didn't know each other, but I just saw that logo and I just came up. I was like, bro, I know that band. And he's like, bro, that's my band. And then from that point forward, I was like, yo, I make music too. And played some stuff. And we've been rocking ever since.
Yeah, and it was crazy because like that day we just started striking up a conversation in the break room and was like, yo, we should get together and make a track sometime. And, you know, you say like, let's get together and make some tracks or whatever with people all the time, especially people from the music world.
Especially people in L.A.
And like either, you know, you might get together with them once and it's cool, but like you don't do it again or like people flake out or whatever. But like we actually did it, and that first night you brought V over. And V was running sound.
V is my engineer. Shout out to V Kid. Yeah. That's the homie.
And you came over with a bottle of Chivas Regal, and I bought a case of beer, and we just plowed through that bitch like it was no tomorrow. Yes. And we were up till like 7 in the morning,
Yeah.
just cranking through jams. And actually, we had a lot of deep conversation for like the first time hanging out, which was crazy to me because we were talking about religion and all this crazy
Spirituality.
stuff, getting into it, and we didn't really know each other, but it wasn't like we didn't argue. We just like we had fun, and it was a blast, and like time flew by. And I think that was kind of like a great foreshadowing to this moment now, where it's
Right.
like we've had all these amazing conversations over the years. Like I like to call you my intellectual sparring partner. We challenge each other on our views. We don't agree on everything all the time, but like we always find common ground. And even when we have had conversations that have taken a turn towards towards argument, it's like we always know how to like it's no hard feelings, and we always like find that middle ground and like work through it. But it's just crazy to think 11 years ago, like that first night having a conversation, making music would lead to, we've made tons of jams together over the years, but also like now we have this podcast where we're going to be bringing people on to have conversations like we had that first night, which is very exciting to me.
Because as you know, like I really hate small talk. Anybody that knows me, like I hate it, I despise it, detest. But when I can, be in a situation and have meaningful conversations with people, and they can challenge me and add insight to certain things that maybe I have preconceived notions about, and maybe change my stance on it by providing new information, I'm always excited to have those things, and I always like to do the same as well if I can shed some type of light in anybody's life. Like, always excited to do that. So I mean, it's like a very, I guess, like serendipitous moment, which leads me to want to ask you, like, I mean, because we had a conversation 11, 12 years ago when we had that initial conversation, and maybe things have changed since then, but what's your stance? Like, is there a God? Do you believe in God? How does that work?
This is a great conversation because I feel like I'm on a path that's like taking me all over the spiritual map, so to speak. When I was younger, I grew up definitely like going to church. Like our family was like a church family, but like
What kind of church?
we went to like a Catholic school or whatever. I went to public school for education, but went to a Catholic like church school or whatever for when I was younger. And then, but my parents were never like strict about it. They kind of like fell off. Like we wouldn't go to church every week or whatever. We go on like the holidays and shit.
Right.
And so they never like forced us to believe or like follow any specific thing, because they were never like super strict on it either. And I actually like look back and I'm super grateful for that, because I it's allowed my mind to be more open. And so as I got older, I kind of went on my own little spiritual path where I went to like a Black Apostolic church with my buddies from high school for a few years, and then like I got into reading like Eastern philosophy books and like went down that route, and yoga and meditation and that kind of stuff became like my church, my spiritual practice personally. And then over the years, I've kind of ebbed and flowed with like what I believe. I definitely had a period that I came out of a couple years ago where I was like definitely hardcore science atheist, almost like
I remember that period.
I need the evidence, whatever. And like just experiences and like my mind being open to other types of information. I think there's ways of knowing and seeing the world that that the material things don't always give you. And we talk about this, and I'm definitely open to talk about it, but like our psychedelic experiences, and like I had a psychedelic experience with you, and that's definitely been a mile marker along the way that's like helped my spiritual journey too. And I'm in this interesting place where like I definitely believe in the power of psychedelics, and I believe in the power of spirituality. And I would say like my beliefs kind of teeter between like a deist, pantheist type of sort of spirituality, but with like I don't even know how to explain it. I think Baba Ram Dass. It's always hard to say. Baba Ram Dass has like there's a great interview where he explains kind of like what's closest, I think, to like what I kind of like believe, and he talks about the one, and like the ascending realms of consciousness, and how when you start at the base layer of like this kind of base layer human consciousness where we're operating through the physical world. And then the next layer is like personality and identity. And then the next layer is like what meditation takes you to, like the separating the dual nature of like seeing the ego and the body as like separate, but then kind of evolving into above that to he calls it the void, which is like most people are afraid when they get to that point. They can't cross the void because it's like it's a void, and it's like the fear holds you back. But if you break through it, you connect to the one, and the one is basically the source of all creation and the universe and everything. And he actually
so you do believe in one creator?
Not necessarily that it's a intelligent creator in the way that like I guess more classical religions say, like where there's a God that created everything, but more so it's like I guess like a one spirit or consciousness that like everything is a iteration of.
Okay.
The one, the many is the one.
Yeah.
So like we are just iterations of the one's consciousness.
Okay. Totally. So totally. So is the one kind of, I guess the word synecdoche, right? All the parts equal the whole, and the whole equals the parts. So you're saying that there isn't an outside creator that created the whole, that they're one and the same.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. Listen, that's much better than when you went through that quasi-atheist phase. I was like, what is this?
So I would still say that I definitely still have like a strong foundation of like science, and definitely like in terms of operating,
follow the science.
In terms of operating in the material world.
Yeah.
Like I think that science is the thing by which we should definitely use a tool which we should use to navigate through.
Like Fauci, right?
And it's the best thing. No, that's not science. That's scientism.
Okay. What's the difference?
Big difference. So scientism is the dogmatic creation that these corrupt scientists have created, where it's tisms enact doctrines, whereas science follows a process of discovering the world.
Scientific method.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
So big difference. And I think people get the two confused all the time because they're like, the scientists are trying to tell us what to do, but the scientists are often following a doctrine that has been prescribed through
corruption,
or even just bias, like it might not even be that like somebody's paying you to tell you like we need this result in a study or whatever, but it could just be like their own bias gets them to that result, and so they miss a lot of the mile markers or the evidence along the way that's like telling them, okay, maybe you should like take a second look at this.
Yeah.
But because they're so bent on that like bias of like, no, I got to be right, or I need it to achieve this result, then once you start to go down that route, you're not following science and you're not following the process,
right? Which
is a tool of discovering the world.
Yeah.
What about you though? What like spiritual religion?
Totally believe in God. I don't know what that means to other people, but God, cosmic consciousness, the creator, the all. I follow a lot of different. I like mysticism.
Mm-hmm. That's something we definitely connect on. We both like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, very much into, especially like Christian mysticism. Big fan of Jesus Christ. Big fan. Big fan of Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Seven Masters, One Path. It's a book I always try to get you to read.
Oh, I was like, what is that? And I say this every time, right? I'm like, what is that book?
It's a meditation book. It's like the seven of the great spiritual masters and their approaches to meditation.
Got it.
And Jesus is one of the.
Of course, he's the best. So big fan of Jesus Christ, and the teachings, his teachings. But yeah, I mean, definitely spiritual for sure. Yeah. Super important. Like, understanding the different realms of existence: physical, mental, spiritual, even psychically and emotionally. Those are two realms that also get overlooked, but the main three, of course. And then understanding that I look at the Hermetic principles. Those are really important to me. So
tell people a little bit about that in case they're not familiar.
Yeah, so there's probably a lot of them, but the 7 main Hermetic principles is first mentalism, right? And then there's correspondence, then there's vibration, then there is polarity, right? Then there is rhythm, and then there's cause and effect, and then there's gender. And so when you take those 7 principles, it literally transcends to everything that we experience in life. It would be mysticism would be analogous to what we call quantum physics today. So it really helps you understand so many things by using just the elements that already exist, understanding that there's polarity in everything, there's correspondence, which is a super important one, which is understanding. If you can understand things in the physical world, then you can understand how that corresponds in the spiritual world as well. And so that really helps us to make these breakthroughs. Like, Nikola Tesla, he was very much into mysticism. And this is why he was able to make these great breakthroughs in science. So I like to follow that type of stuff. Mentalism is understanding that there's just one mind. We are all connected to one mind. So we are literally, if you have, an idea, right? We think in images, right? As humans, that's just what it is. If I say anything, you're going to have an image. If I say your living room, right? You watching this, you're going to have an image of your living room. That's just how we think. We think in images. So when they say that we have the same abilities as Jesus Christ, or I'm sorry, as God, that we were made in the image of God, to me, what that means is we have the co-creative abilities. No other species has this. No other species can think of something and then manifest it. We're the only people that can do that, right? So we have an image in our head. It could be, I want this car, or I want these clothes, or whatever that material thing is. It's not complete until you have the physical manifestation, right? So I truly believe that God has all of these ideas already in the one mind that we all share.
Similar to kind of what I was talking about.
Exactly. Precisely.
So I want to show you that video at some point. Not obviously on the podcast, but later tonight maybe I'll show you the interview I was talking about. It's really interesting.
Yeah, no, it sounds like he's probably tapped into the same type of Hermetic principles that I discovered years ago. And it's like, basically these ideas, or the concept of the Holy Spirit, right, is essentially the exact same thing. And you can be filled with the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit cannot. It exists, but it needs a physical entity in order to create its manifestation. So you need to be in a position where you can actually receive the Holy Spirit, right? Living according to the laws that are set, the universal laws that are set, putting yourself in a position to receive the Holy Spirit and then become the physical manifestation of an idea that was already created for you. So even just like, us meeting each other is beyond us, right? We had something to do with it. We had to, put ourselves in a position to be there, right? Because it's a co-creative thing, right? It's like, what is it? Faith without works is dead, right? So we still have to do the work, right? The Holy Spirit isn't just gonna do it for us, right? You want to like lose weight, you still gotta get up and go work out, right? So, but putting yourself in a position to do that and be used by the Holy Spirit, or whatever you want to call it, that cosmic intelligence, and then be in the physical manifestation. So that's my interpretation. I mean, it's heretical, right? So that's why I don't really say I'm a Christian, because I don't think that they would necessarily see it the way I see it. So I like Christian mysticism.
But isn't the term or the word of labeling people heretics or heresy none but just a tool of the power structure of people long past who wanted to control the church.
Absolutely. That's what they
Yeah.
call Jesus Christ. And, I've been studying Jesus Christ because, like I said, I'm a big fan. The biggest, I mean, that to me, that is the true and living God that came in the flesh. I truly believe that. And that light cannot be extinguished, that light that he brought. People tried before, Buddha, Confucius, all of these different people.
Also, lights that have not been extinguished.
I mean, I think when we're talking about they haven't been extinguished. I'm not even going to argue that point, but the light of Jesus Christ it's forever burning. I mean, it's just like inextinguishable, and was able to really convert a lot of people. And once people get this information and they understand it, not in that dogmatic way that, some of these preachers want you to understand it because they want to fill their coffers. And so they blend the old covenants with the new covenants. And the whole point of Jesus Christ coming to earth is so that we were redeemed and we no longer had to use the old covenants, or what we call the Old Testament. The Old Testament basically was relegated frivolous because now you have Jesus Christ. He died for your sins, so you don't have to live in sin. And our old selves died with him. We were crucified with him, right? And so once you understand this, and then you're living in your purpose, and you are doing what's right, because he gives us a guideline of, what our boundaries are as far as living a righteous life. And it's way fewer rules than were set in the old covenants, right? Which the Jewish religion still uses. They still use the first 5 books of the Bible, the Pentateuch, or some people call it the Torah, but the Torah has way more books than that in it. But and I'm cool with that stuff too. But I believe in Jesus Christ. So if you believe in Jesus Christ, then that means that those are rendered useless. So, I mean, if you ever take the time to read Leviticus, it's so many rules. Right. It's you can't even wear cloth that's a shirt that has blended, fabrics or something. You can't be around a woman 7 days after a period, or it's Jesus is no, we don't have to do any of that no more. And he set the guidelines. And another great thing that people should look at is Galatians 5:22. I don't know it. I'm not a pastor. I can just quote these things. I really wish I could do these things, but I suck with memorizing things like that. But Galatians 5:22, and it shows you what the gifts are of the Holy Spirit. You mind if I pull it up real quick?
For sure.
So it's to me, it's so true. If you follow these teachings, this is literally what you will receive as the gift of the Holy Spirit. And he says here in Galatians 5:22, the fruitage of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faith, mildness, and self-control. And I can attest that if you are putting yourself in a position to receive the Holy Spirit, these gifts you will receive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Big fan of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I think
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ.
We love you, God.
I think love is the key gift. The key, because it's a thing that you don't need to necessarily receive in order to experience it. You can give it and be redeemed by giving love. And so love, I think, is one of the biggest things on this earth that we've been given as a connection point to the source.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, but again, that source it's infinite, right? Mm-hmm. So love can be, cut off from a physical person, right? Mm-hmm. It's not unconditional, but the love from the source, it's unconditional, and there's plenty more where that came from. And, I'm telling you, man, when I made this switch, and this took me years. I went through a path of reading so much stuff, just trying to figure this out. So many things, dark things, really all types of crazy stuff, guys. And it led me back to everything that is true will lead you back to the source. And I believe that the source is Jesus Christ, because they tell you that you cannot access the source unless you go through the sun. And it sounds crazy, and that's how I know it's true, because it's such a simple thing that if you ask people, like, do you believe in Jesus Christ? People get like super weird about it. And I'm like, that would totally make sense. Like, if I'm like a mastermind that created, multiverses, right? I would do this really simple thing, which is like bring a human and, God incarnate in the flesh, bring him, and then, do all of these great, miracles or whatever, things that people cannot understand to this day, and then decide if you believe it or not. And that's the only way you can get to the actual source. And if you look at like any of these major religions, they all also follow the teachings of Jesus Christ. Muslims follow the teachings of Jesus Christ. They believe him to be a prophet as well, right? Buddhism, all of these people definitely are like, no, Jesus Christ for sure. They may just have a different religion.
I think it's all the same person, to be honest.
I don't think that.
7 masters, 1 path.
I'm going to check it out. I'm going to add it to maybe do the Audible or something like that. But let's shift gears though, man.
Yeah. So I mean, back to the genesis of Side X Side Pod.
Because I'm pretty sure we just lost so many followers. They're like,
they're
Jesus.
like, oh, these guys are talking about religion. See ya. Bye. The fucking memes playing like bye as they're leaving the podcast.
People hate when you talk about Jesus. It's so funny to me. I'm just like, why are you so angry about Jesus? Yeah. I said that to Dan the other day when we were in Houston over the weekend. Was that last weekend?
Yeah.
And like I said, he just started walking off and going to the bathroom. I was like, that's why you need Jesus, bro.
So this is the kind of stuff that we hope to do with this podcast, is these conversations. Like, I think one of the things, going back to, our relationship, how it started and stuff, is just like, I think one thing you and I align on is a way by which we approach the world or progress through the world, and that's like, we kind of try at our best, and like we fail, obviously, and like my wife would definitely keep me accountable in this regard. But just trying to approach the world with this process of like being open to the best information, or having our minds changed when better information comes.
Absolutely.
And I think that a lot of people struggle with that because, like, one, our ego gets in the way of like, a lot of times we want to be right. And I definitely sometimes am like that. Like, I want to be right, in an argument or whatever. But like, I think by using this process, it helps you kind of strip away the ego and strip away that defensive or whatever, and listen more and like be open more to more information. So I think that was one thing that we always aligned on, and why we're always able to have these conversations and be better people because of them. Because we're both open to hearing what the other person says. And sometimes I got better information than you, and I change your mind, and sometimes you have better information than me and definitely change my mind. And I think that's definitely one of the missions behind this podcast, is we want to open minds one conversation at a time.
Enlightening minds one conversation at a time. No, I think it's super important, going back to something that you said earlier in the conversation about the ego or whatever. A lot of people don't realize that, we have two minds, right? Depending on what you look at, if you're looking scientifically or whatever, but, they may call it conscious or subconscious. But I basically look at it as I and me, right? So the lower consciousness is, it's more receptive, right? That's me. So everything that you've ever experienced in life, whether you were asleep or awake or whatever, your brain has been recording it this entire time. And you actually have the ability to go in there and pull it back out, right? This is crazy stuff. I mean, there's some stuff called the Akashic Records. And if you look this stuff up, you'll see what I'm talking about. But all this information is like super ancient, right? And the me is not who you are, right? So when you say like, oh, my arm hurts, right? The my, right? Who's the my? Because if it was all you just say arm hurts, right? But you say my arm hurts, right? So that to me implies that there's a separation between you and whoever this my is, right? So I always try to simplify it like this, right? When the alarm goes off, what time you wake up generally on a work day?
Anywhere between 6 and 7.
Okay, 6 and 7, right? So boom, let's say you've been up. It's we're up to 1 o'clock in the morning. Alarm goes off at 6. Bing, bang, 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 bang. What's gonna happen? It's gonna ring. You're still tired. You have an internal conversation when that happens, right? The me is telling you, oh, but this bed is so cozy. Just stay right here.
And I'm sleepy.
And I, which is who you actually are, is the one that decides either to give in to the me or do what the I says, which is the higher consciousness. So me is a receptor, and the I is the one that actually makes decisions.
This reminds me of the work of Ian McGilchrist. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
He's this philosopher of mind guy, English guy, and he has this famous book that's used. It's like it's a really important book in the world of like neuroscience and psychology and stuff. But the book's called The Master and His Emissary. And it's this concept of like the brain has a master and the emissary. And, the master will often have, I'm definitely paraphrasing a lot of the work here, but like I'm definitely not technical enough to go through like the whole thing. But he was on a podcast talking about how like the master is the I or whatever, it's analogous to that, and the emissary is the me. But the master will often have the emissary carry out functions for it. And it's interesting because they've like done studies on people who've had like strokes and like all kinds of stuff, and how if the master part of the brain goes down, it's like game over. Like the emissary can do stuff, but it won't be able to do stuff for real. But if the emissary goes down and the master's still around, it might be switched. I can't remember exactly how he kind of articulated it, but it's that concept of like one is the master, one is the emissary, and through one is like the main brain, the other one is more like it carries out the work of the other one, which is why I love the master and his emissary as like the way of phrasing it, because it's like you think about back in the day when kings sent emissaries to like send the message or whatever. It's like that kind of concept. It's an interesting concept. I think that work is super interesting.
This information is like it's been around way before your grandparents. I mean, this has been around since the beginning of human civilization. The people, but this was, they call them secret schools, and it's not because mystery schools, right? But it's not because like it's some crazy mystery. It's just that the information is so precious and it's so simple that people don't value it. So they realize that, and they're like, dude, we're just going to keep this for the people that truly, truly understand. And that same I versus me concept is the same as the spirit versus the soul, right? The soul is the I, and the spirit is the me in the situation, where that when that Holy Spirit takes over you and comes over, and then you still have to go and consciously do what you're supposed to do with this spirit, right? So, this stuff is just like super fascinating to me. And then once I got like, more and more tapped in, and you can never be tapped in enough, like you're always just on that quest. But once you have like that solid foundation, then you can do anything. I mean, like here we are like doing a podcast, like just like super random because, that spirit took over and it caught us both at the same time because, I always want to like work with you. He's like my favorite person to work with, like on basically anything.
Appreciate that.
Cause it's just like his work ethic is like super like on par with mine, and even if I'm tired, like he wants to keep going or vice versa. And I've always just admired that because a lot of people that I've worked with in the past, like they fall off on the consistency side of things, and you can't win alone. Like you have to have a team around you, and everybody needs to like be on the same page. And I just always felt like, yo, Rizzo gets busy, dog. Like, he gets busy.
Appreciate that.
Yeah,
And
but you're getting old now.
likewise.
You want to go to sleep all the time.
Yeah,
man.
well, I need my 8 hours.
He needs 8
I need
hours,
my 8
bro.
hours.
That's insane.
I used to joke and say I was like one of those people with the 6-hour gene or whatever that they've said is like a thing now. It's like some people are born with like a gene where like they can operate the same way off of like 6 hours of sleep or less.
Yeah.
And I definitely used to think that in my 20s, but now as I've gotten older, I'm like, nah, I don't think I have that gene.
I feel like it all just depends on like how much you want something. So for me, like just understanding that like my time here is finite in this body, right? In the physical. I want to be able to do as much as I possibly can. And like the greatest gift that we can give to people is whatever jewels that we possess, we want to share it with the world. So, I do that in, multiple things from, the financial stuff that I do, from music to creativeness, ideas. Like, I'm just like on go mode, bro. Like, I feel like I want to be doing this till the day I die, like getting busy. Because the days when like I'm idle, it's not good. Like, I have a tattoo here that says idle hands make active minds. And it's like, it's okay to be idle from time to time, but it's like, dude, we got to get busy. We got to go out here because
definitely need like the breaks and for sanity and for mental health and just to make your work better. But I definitely agree that too much, that's when you start to, there's times where like I don't have a project I'm working on or whatever and like work slow and like if I don't like have plans to do stuff, I'm like sitting in the house and I feel like I'm wasting time.
Oh yeah.
And like that feeling gives me so much anxiety, and it's like a gift and a curse because it's like I feel that way like so much throughout my life, but it's also a gift because it keeps me from becoming complacent.
Right. No, complacency is like the enemy of growth. So it's like I definitely don't ever want to be complacent, and it's not like I'm striving for like more material wealth and stuff. I mean, it's a couple toys I want for sure, but
I'm a gadget guy. I love
you
gadgets.
like the gadgets.
Yeah, as you can see.
Well, the technology is super important. You got to like take the only thing that has ever changed as far as like human civilization is technology. People are still the same.
Yeah, we're
still doing the exact same things we've been doing from day one, but the technology that we interact with shapes the culture a little bit, right? So totally feel like like I subscribe to Wired magazine, right? I'm hip to what's going on, and I like Rob Report, but I don't need to accumulate more things. That's not really who I am. Like, if anybody like knows my music, I've had this shirt for like 12 years.
Yeah, I was going to call the shirt out because I was like, how fitting for the first podcast.
I know I did this, but I've had this shirt. Like I did a music video and I'm wearing the shirt in the music video, the Sooner or Later joint. And I've had the shirt for like so long, so I don't really care about those types of things. I mean, I like nice quality and stuff like that, but more so just like, how do we get these ideas out? Like, how do we, connect with people and have open dialogue and, expose them to things that they otherwise would have never been exposed to, and vice versa, and learn things from other people and other cultures and challenge each other in a civil way. Like how we verbally joust all the time, but it's like, dude, we don't, we're friends. Like, we're brothers. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, it's like, dude, let's just agree to disagree for now. And then, a week later or a year later, you can be like, you know what? Oh, man, I read this book, and now I see what you were saying that time when we were arguing. You were right. Dude, have humility. It's okay to be wrong. We don't know everything. The all knows everything, but we're just one small part of the all. So... we just want to share ideas, and I'm super pumped, and sharing new music, bro. We got the new music. Speaking
of which, I think we should announce a little project that's coming out in this summer.
You look like Larry David.
It's a pretty good project. It's called Mystic.
Yeah, Mystic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mystic. You want to tell people about the project dropping?
Which is like crazy, right? Because the only way you're ever gonna know that it's pronounced mystic right now is because you watched this episode and you made it this far to the 40-minute mark.
40, yeah.
But it's like MY5TC, right? But it's pronounced mystic, and because we're into mysticism, and we're mystics, and yeah, man, got a new project. I think we'll just like keep putting out new stuff, but we want to put out a quick EP. Hopefully, we can maybe put out an EP every quarter. We'll see. But we got something that we definitely want to drop for the summer edition,
and it's hot fire.
We got some lava.
We got some, and I just am really excited to be doing a project with you again and getting back to music, because that is like what we were made to do on this earth.
Yes. Well, I feel like, honestly, I always was just like made to share ideas.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. Yeah.
And I think like I ended up like gravitating towards music because my mom passed away. I was 11, and we moved with my godmom, and so I had this brother, my new brother, and love him, just like looked up to him so much. And he was rapping. He's like,
what's his name?
His name's Harold.
Yeah,
Harold. That's my brother. Shout out to Harold, man. Love him. Almost typical. He's a chef now and really good food. But he was rapping, and I just wanted to do whatever he was doing. I was like, whatever this dude's doing, like that's what I'm doing. So he was doing that, and then I was like, I think I could do this. And so I just like started writing, and it was like straight up trash, but like I go back to school, they'd be like beating on the lunch tables, and I like spit like 4 bars or something.
I had a teacher in 7th grade. We would do the pencil tapping beats on the desk during class.
For sure.
And her name was Mrs. Connor, and she would yell at us in the middle of class. It was me and this dude George Lapsley that did it all the time, and she would make us come to lunch detention at her classroom, and we would have to tap for the whole lunch detention.
Oh, so you got really good at it.
And so the first time we were like, yeah, okay, we'll do this detention. Little does she know, we're gonna love it. But no, we get to lunch detention, and you can't realize how hard it is to keep doing beats and keep them like
how long was
not
detention?
Boring for 20 minutes.
20 minutes, yeah. So you probably got really good at it. But yeah, no, we go to lunch and AP, and I spit like 4 bars, like, and they'd be like, oh. So like it progressively got better, because every day I go to school, like people like they want to hear me rap something. Everybody was rapping, whatever. And then you want to be better than the other people. And then, I quickly just got better than everyone else. And it was just only because I worked at it harder. Like I just spent more time with it. It wasn't like I was like a genius or something like that, I don't think. I was just like, I'm working at this for real.
You were pretty sick with the rhymes.
I'm pretty sick with the rhymes. But I started at 11 years old. So I'm well over my 10,000 hours. And I'm like really dedicated when I'm doing something. So I was getting busy. And then it got to the point where now I was 14. I was like really good. And then my brother's like, okay, like I'm starting a group. Like, you want to be in my group? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So then we start recording. Then I think that was around the time that like 92.3. I'm from Chicago, and they had just like launched or something like around that time, maybe a year before or something like that. So they were doing like a showcase down at the Virgin Record store on Magnificent Mile.
Oh man, I remember my very first visit to Chicago was like when I was in 4th grade, and I remember going to that Virgin Megastore.
Yeah,
and it was like paradise to me.
Yeah,
because I was obsessed as a kid growing up with music, but not only with music, but with like having my physical CDs. And I would like get a new CD from in the town I grew up in. There was a Borders, and back in the day, Borders had these like listening stations when new releases would come out, and you would put it on and listen to the whole album. And that's how I discovered a lot of the artists that like became my influences. And so whenever I'd go to like a bookstore or a music store, I would spend like hours in that section. But when I went to Chicago for the first time and had heard about Virgin Records, like mega stores or whatever, I was like in that store, and bro, you couldn't pull me out of there. It was over. I loved that Virgin Records.
It's so crazy. That was my first, and I want to say only time ever in that store. And we were doing a show for the radio station, and that was like my first time performing and stuff like that. And then, from that, we just kept doing it. And my brother, he graduated from Iowa State. And so we go down there doing Visha Week. Anybody? Cyclones, Visha Week, you know what's up. We go down there. We did performances there, and we just kept recording. And, obviously they stopped at some point. I just kept going and then, had like a goal list of all of these people that I wanted to meet and all of these things that I wanted to happen. I checked off so many things on that list, which was insane. Like, if you just stick with anything, you're gonna win. Like, I don't even care if you're not talented. Like, like consistency trumps talent any day if talent doesn't work.
And if you have both,
forget about it.
It's over. Yeah.
Forget about it, right? So, and I did that, got all the way to the point where, finally major record labels were like, okay, maybe we'll sign you type deal. And then I got all the way there, and I just didn't even like the music anymore because I just didn't like the music business.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, this sucks. Like, it's a machine, and there's certain things that you need to do. You need to compromise your artistic integrity, and I wasn't willing to do that. And so I just kind of went through like a midlife quarter-century crisis, I guess, because I was 25 at the time. And I was just like, man, what am I gonna do with my life? But fortunately, I had that degree.
Get your degrees, man.
Get your degrees, man. He said, my dad's so stingy. He took my degrees.
And after you get that degree, you go out and you get another degree.
See, you get your bachelor's, then you get your master's, then you get your master's, then you get your doctorate.
Fucking love that.
So I had a degree in finance and economics, and I always cared about that stuff. Like, I was always like, reading these things because of my big brother, Steve. Like, he got me involved in reading Barron's and all of this stuff when I was like 14.
Yeah.
So I always cared about that stuff. And fortunately, I was able to, do that and help people, and it's meaningful work. So I really loved that. But then I realized, like, I didn't have a creative outlet, and I was missing that part of my life. Like, bro, I need to be doing something creative, or like that's why like these like accountants and financial advisors are like living like crazy secret lives like outside because they're like they have no outlet.
Totally.
And then moved here finally, and now we back in business, baby.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, like the parallels of my life, my story to get to this point too is similar in some regards. I mean, I started Big Brother. Speaking of Phil, shout out to Phil. Is going to be on the show in June.
It's gonna be so much fun.
But Big Brother, who started doing music with me when we were little kids, and it started like I think in like 3rd, 4th grade. I started playing the drums, and then taught myself like the drum set, and then joined band in school. And
I feel so sorry for your parents. I didn't know you went through that drum phase.
Oh yeah, no. That's how that was the very first thing I learned to play was drums. Yeah.
Poor Tish.
And Phil was he played guitar growing up, and so like we started.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, we started dabbling, and then back in the day, early bass like loop recording and like DAW software like Acid and Cakewalk and stuff. We'd mess around and make beats and save them on floppy drives, and then. From there, I just like I've always been sort of an autodidact where I if I want to learn something or know how to do something, I'll teach it myself. I'll find a way to teach myself. So I like taught myself piano, and then later in life in college, I taught myself guitar. But I always wrote poems and lyrics growing up, and me and my buddies had like little singing groups and shit growing up. And then
you like to dance too.
Yeah, and I got more and more into it as my life went by. And like in high school, I was seriously into like dance and singing and performing and choir and stuff. And then in college, I started a band with I mentioned it earlier called Fly Phoenix with my buddy Nick, who I didn't know. Like we went to the same college, and like when you join college, you're like on Facebook, like just adding friends from college. Like, I don't know this person, but they go to my school.
For sure.
And like he would post stuff about getting together and doing jams, and I met him and he was like, hey Brandon, you're Brandon, right? And I was like, yeah, you're Nick, right? Like, you're looking to start a band? I'm like, yeah, you too? And yeah, and so we got together, like, and he introduced me to a couple guys that actually ended up becoming members of the band as well. And we were together for like 7 years. We played all over Midwest, Chicago, like Milwaukee, Cleveland, Indiana, like you name it. And
y'all brought me on some of those shows. It was pretty cool.
we just had a blast. Like it was some of the best years of my life playing with those guys. They were my closest friends still to this day, and I love all those guys. And
did you guys capture any of those moments?
Oh yeah, we had a lot of them. We actually put out a live DVD show that we put online. It's on YouTube, still on our Fly Phoenix Music YouTube channel.
And speaking of capture moments,
gotta capture those moments with Jennifer Catherine Photography.com. Oh yeah,
JenniferCatherinePhotography.com.
One of the sponsors of the podcast, Jennifer Catherine Photography. You can check her out on Instagram. It's probably the best place. You can see some of the work that she's done. But if you ever need a photographer for life events, weddings, babies, baby showers, engagements, family parties, bar mitzvahs, whatever you need, Jennifer Catherine Photography's got you covered.
Or doing a show for Fly Phoenix.
Oh yeah, and Jennifer. She would shoot a lot of our photography. She was a big part of being that person for us too. And you know, we work with so many like friends who were artists and stuff over the years. And as the band kind of died down, I started doing my solo thing and moved to LA. And I hit this like period where I was like, kind of like an existential moment of like, this isn't going, it isn't like hitting the material success that I thought it would, or like I similarly experienced like a little bit of the industry of like, I was asked for like a shop deal, record deal, and that didn't work out because it was super weird. And just like got turned off as well. And like music started to become like a chore rather than the thing that gave me like the release and the passion and like what my life meaning was around. And so I kind of stepped away from it and started, focusing on my career and developing my other skills, because similarly, like, you were really into finance and stuff, and I was always really into business and being, either starting a business or running a business. That's something that like I think runs through my family. And so I did that for a while and then moved here to Austin and have become very successful in my career, but needed to get back to me and my purpose, which is music and creating projects and stuff. And so here we are. We're doing it, and I'm still releasing stuff under my my solo artist account, which is Rizzo Feels. You can follow me on there and see any of the singles I'm dropping or projects I'm dropping. I got tons of stuff on iTunes and everything like that. But
Indigo Skies, bro. I don't know what you were going through when you were out in California, but some of the stuff you were doing out there,
you want to know? Do you want to know the meaning of that song?
Sure.
So
it's one of my favorite songs, by the way. Indigo Skies by Rizzo. Check it out.
Yeah, it's on Spotify and all that. So when I made that song, it came organically. My buddy Kevin Richter, who lives in LA still, he and I got together a couple jam sessions at like a music rehearsal space, and we were working just like trying to like make a song together, and that was the song that came out of that jam session. And but when I wrote the lyrics, so I'd always wanted to live in LA or New York, like my whole life, and I chose LA and went to LA because I had done something for school there and was always like kind of drawn back to it. And when I went back, I was like doing my music thing, I was heavy into it, and like it just didn't end up being what I dreamed of it to be. And so one of my favorite book of all time is a book called Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. It's one of my favorite books, and it's a really deep philosophical book, but it's like considered the best Western of all time. And it covers a lot of themes like good versus evil and all this kind of stuff in it. But one of the themes in the book is the topic or this concept of Ignis Fatuus. So in like old Western times, when you would be like in the night, like traveling on a caravan or on horseback or whatever, you would meet fellow travelers in the night passing you or whatever. But there's this phenomenon that happens like in nature, like out in space, where like gas coalesces and it creates like a light in the distance. And people will often see it and think it's like, oh, that's a city in the distance where like
Oh,
gold
is that like the Northern Lights, like Aurora Borealis type thing?
No, it's different, but
Okay.
it's like a similar like phenomenon of nature.
Okay.
But people would see it in the distance and they'd be like, oh, that's where the city is. That's where the gold is. That's where the opportunity is. Or they would see it and think it's like more people like creating campfires or whatever. And they'd be drawn to it. But in the book, he's like talking about this scene where like people are passing each other and the guys, the main characters are a band of mercenaries based off of a true group called the Glanton Gang, 1800s. And they just came from like basically marauding village and like killing everybody in the village, and they're passing these other people that's seeing this phenomenon in the distance from where they just came, and they're going to it. And the whole idea is like and this is a long walk for a short drink of water, but I'm going to bring it back to what I was talking about, which is the Ignis Fatuus concept of oftentimes like Ignis Fatuus is like that idea of like you see a light in the distance and you think it's this opportunity in this like dreamland or this
The
thing.
grass is greener type of concept.
And but it can also be a fraudulent light
Often.
and can lead people towards lead people astray or lead people down dark roads. And that concept is so fascinating to me. And when I read it and finally understood it, when I read it in that book, I was like, oh man, this is exactly how I feel about a lot of things in life where
In LA.
well, yeah, but also like the dream of making it, you know, like
Yeah.
we're always like, as artists, like we want to do the thing that gives us meaning as like our career or our thing that brings home the money. But that like pursuit, if not like tied to the right values or principles or lessons of life, you can lead you astray, and as it does so many artists,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it also intrinsically and like from a meaning and purpose standpoint can also destroy you because you're so drawn to that material success of I gotta make it, and it can burn out the light within you of pursuing it for the right reasons or like the reason why it makes you happy. And at that moment I was kind of going through that burnout phase of like pursuing music for so long in that way. I gotta make it, I gotta prove myself, I gotta like, you know, everything that I've worked for has gotta mean something monetarily, successfully wise. And I started to lose that feeling that music gave me. Mm-hmm. And that song was the song I wrote to express that. And it
So good.
And it basically is like in LA is like a perfect example of Ignis Fatuus because everybody goes there to make it, but so many, only like a small fraction of people do, and even when they do, it's a fraudulent destiny of, you know, Hollyweird.
Hollyweird, dude. Yeah, because obviously that's where the industry is, and so I had to spend some time out there doing music stuff and meeting with labels and all of that jazz. And yeah, it's Hollyweird for sure, bro. And the grass is not greener on the other side. The grass is greener where you water it. So as you start to, you know, realize these things, then, you know, you have new ideas of what making it is. So for me, you know, I got to the point where I'm like, man, dude, I have like core fans that really want to hear when I drop stuff. And it's like,
Same.
constantly just thinking like, oh, but I need to hit this
Need
next
more fans.
Yeah.
More fans
Yeah.
are gonna make
Yeah. And it's like you don't, bro. Like be happy with what you have and you can literally engage with them and just
right.
and you know and be with them. And so that's what we want to do here with Side by Side podcast and hopefully, you know, introduce other aspects of our lives that you probably don't know. Some people probably know us, but you may know us from music or career or something, whatever. But we're multifaceted human beings.
Yeah.
And these are the types of conversations that we have all of the time. And now we're just like, hey, let's just share it with other people because we already have these conversations. So, I mean, if you're a person that, you know, would like to engage in some of these conversations, hit us up. Hit us up on Instagram. Hit us up on Twitter or whatever.
And we just launched the parent media group. It's Elusis Media Group, Elusis Media GRP on Instagram, Twitter, all that. You can follow that for, side-by-side drops, any of the future projects that come out. It's ELEUSIS Media GRP on Instagram.
Yep, on all the platforms.
Yeah,
so
all the
yeah,
platforms.
just like
We're even on minds.com now.
yeah, minds.com. Yeah, I don't know about it, but he's hip.
Yeah.
He told you he's into the technology stuff. So yeah, no, hit us up if you want to be on the show, or you know someone that's interesting that you think should be on the show. I mean, I personally believe that everyone's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to take the time to listen to them.
You got to take the time to listen to them, and you have to take the time to ask good questions, engaging questions to make people think. Obviously, like I do like to talk to people that have maybe already kind of thought some things through. But if you haven't thought these things through, that's fine. Continue to watch the shows. Hit that subscribe button. It's super important. Subscribe. Get those notifications so you know what's up when we're dropping new stuff, because we're going to be dropping some heat at least once a week, we agree to right now. So at least 50 episodes this year. So yeah. I'm pumped.
And as a segue, why don't you tell the people about our sponsor of the podcast?
Yeah, big sponsor of our podcast. Really working with people to create, grow, and protect their assets is Black Swan Financial Group. Black Swan Financial Group is a financial services firm based out of New York, but they work completely virtually, working with young professionals, young families, small business owners, and pre-retirees, helping them create, protect, and grow their assets. BlackSwanFinancialGroup.com.
So let me we'll shift gears a little bit here. What are you excited about, bud? We got springs popping.
Yeah.
The weather's warming up.
Equinox, baby.
What are you excited about these days?
I mean, honestly, I'm pretty just pumped about creating right now, man. Like, it's just like, bro, to taking that long hiatus, like after not, signing that deal or whatever. I didn't make music for 5 years. I didn't create anything for 5 years. I literally just focused on growing my financial practice, and I did that, and learned a lot along the way about myself and the industry and all of that too. And then wasn't even thinking about making anything. Like, just was kind of just like dying slowly on the inside. And V and Millie sent a track that they were working on, and I don't know it.
Pandemic.
No, I made that one.
Oh yeah.
No, it was a track. I forget what it's called.
I freaking love the name of that track.
So good.
Pandemic.
Yeah, well, then it became like a word. People started using it, but we were the first that we hadn't heard anyone say it at that time when we made it, and maybe we should have released it. But it goes back to people not having that same work ethic and wanting to do the things, because it was a timely song and it was just a good, catchy song. But yeah, they sent me a track. And I don't know, it just sparked something inside of me, and I was like, holy crap. And mind you, I hadn't wrote any songs or anything for 5 years. I get this track, I listened to it, I literally wrote like 7 verses that day. And then I was like, all right, dude, we got to start recording. Like, I'm ready. And they're like, okay, like, let's go. So I flew to Chicago, did some tracks. Then I came back like the next month. I was living in New York, and then I went back to Chicago. I got my buddy Dre Pierre, the producer. He came in from Detroit. We made some beats. And like we did Pandemic that time, which is just a funny song because it was just about like, the pandemic was going on, and like if you're from Chicago, then everybody know like it was a pandemic, dog. Like if you ain't getting no money during the pandemic, bro, like bruh, like it was it was so much stuff going on, like so many opportunities to make it. It was like literally a pandemic, and we made a dope track, but it wasn't the track that I wanted to actually be on. Like I like to like ghostwrite and stuff, and so I just wanted to like ghostwrite these records for some people, and they liked it, but then they just didn't. It is what it is, bro.
Yeah.
What are you excited about?
I am excited about, immediately excited that I'm going to Europe in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So
Where are you going in Europe, bro?
Going to Amsterdam, Paris, and London for the first time.
Nice.
Going to a wedding for my wife's best friend. Shout out to them, Grady and Connor. So very excited. I'm a little disappointed. I'm not gonna be able to catch a Chelsea game, which I'm a big Chelsea fan and have never been able to go. But it's okay.
You gotta hit up John, man. Maybe you can go to a Tottenham game or something. Maybe they're playing.
Yeah, you gotta connect.
Yeah.
But long term excited, bro. I'm really excited about the guests we've paired up for the first 2 months of the podcast.
Yeah.
You guys, I really hope you stick with this and stay with us on this journey. We got some really cool people coming on.
Yeah.
Some are friends, some are acquaintances, but just people with really valuable stories to tell and also cool shit they're doing. My buddy Ian Sanzavera's coming on with my buddy Chelson Strong. That's going to be a really cool conversation I'm looking forward to. We already talked about my brother coming on.
Yeah.
You got some cool people coming on. So
dude, I got so many random. I just got this girl. I've never met her in my life. I don't know her. We've never spoken, but we somehow follow each other on Twitter. And she posts cool stuff. I guess she's a designer. Pretty cool designs, honestly. And then I just slid into those DMs yo, and she's like, yes. So I'm pretty excited to have her on, and who she's paired with is going to be pretty crazy.
Next week we have our guests, the lovely Xiomara Hechavarria and Ileana Pinetto are coming on.
Yep.
That's going to be a really cool conversation.
Yep.
I'm just excited, man. I'm really excited about the guests part of this, and seeing where this goes.
So make sure you guys again, subscribe to wherever you listen to the podcast or watch it. Make sure you subscribe. Hit us with the comments. Let us know what you want to see, what questions you want us to ask. This is our show together. We want to make it we want to make really good content, and we want to enlighten minds one question at a time for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's the big thing about the unity and diversity type of part of this show is bringing on so many different types of people that do different things.
Yeah,
and I think that's gonna spark more conversations, but also for the people listening, definitely the questions part, submit that because we're gonna ask those questions. So whatever you want to know. We'll try to find out for you. We're probing the universe through this process called side by side.
Side by side, as we said, side by side, man. But so now today you were out and about, nice, and what were you doing? You were with the wife?
I was. We have been trying to buy a house,
Oof.
and it's been rough. I mean, the Austin market is insane. So, but
Frothy.
doing that, and just I was.
Did you see anything you liked today or no?
Sort of not. I mean, it's hard because it's we have this thing with our real estate agent where it's if it's 85% or more, then it's in green light mode.
What do you mean 85% or more?
85% more of what we want.
Okay.
Of in a house, because you're never going to be able, most of the time, not going to be able to find 100% or more of a house that's your dream house, unless you got mad money and you could just buy that shit cash.
Like all the people from California.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
But you're a person from California, so.
Not really from California.
Oh, okay, my bad.
But
semantics.
Came here from California.
Yeah. I think they want you to go back where you came from. I think I saw a bumper sticker.
At this point, bro, I'm a Texan, man. I've been here 3 years. I'm more Texan than you because you haven't been here that long.
Yeah, but I'm a Texan because I don't pay Texas state tax, so therefore I'm
same.
Yeah, it's funny because that's what this dude would say. I lived in New York for 8 years, as you know, and some New Yorker was trying to say I'm not a New Yorker or whatever, and my homie from New York, OG back in the day, shout out to Ivan Samuels, he's like, you pay taxes? And I was like, yeah, I pay taxes. He was like, you a New Yorker then? And I was like, okay.
Is that lamb pots?
Yeah, that's Lamb Pots.
Dude,
Yeah,
I freaking love that guy, man. We had such a good night with him.
he's such a vibe. We got to get him on the show,
Hell
man.
yeah.
Yeah,
we got to add him to the guest list for sure.
Yeah, for sure. We got to add him.
Yeah, I got to see what he's been up to, man. I love his.
He's got great stories from like the 80s, bro, because he was like around, you know, when like, was it Studio 54 or whatever? Like he was in there. He was like explaining to me like a really cool concept. He's like, yo, like partying in New York like back in the 80s was on a whole nother level because, you know, now how like all the clubs are like separated, like it was like this the black club, the hip hop club, this the white club, this the gay club, this the whatever. He was like, nah, bro, it was everybody in one place just partying. And I was like, that sounds incredible.
It's that disco era, that whole like just party vibes, like pop music, disco music. People didn't give a shit. They were there to just like get jiggy.
Just get jiggy, bro. And he's got some stories, so we definitely have to get him on. Yeah, Lamb Pots.
Yeah, hell yeah. Last thing before we head on out of the podcast, we have a tradition now that I started, that I forced Dimari into, called Fight Night. And tonight is a fight night. So we got UFC. There's a lot going on in the sports world. We got NFL crazy. There's Devontae. I'm a Packers fan. Devontae Adams got traded. You know, Rodgers re-signed. Deshaun Watson's going to the Browns. I don't know if you knew that.
I don't know any of these people.
It's crazy. But anyways,
I know Rodgers.
we got fight night tonight.
Fight night.
You excited?
Dude, you're not making those wings there.
Are you more excited for fight night or to talk to Marcella on the couch?
Well, she's been asleep, so I don't know if maybe she'll wake up for us. But I was really excited because last fight night you made fire wings, and I told him, I was like, listen, if this podcast goes well or doesn't go well, it doesn't matter. Either way it goes, I'm going straight up like Jesse Pinkman him and just like tie him to like underneath a food truck or something like, and he's just gonna be making like hot bro, these wings were so wet and spicy and so good. Like, no, like for
You're
real,
hyping me up too much,
bro, because dog, listen,
I'm just a humble man who cooks dinner for his family.
It's definitely no cap with me. Like, I don't have time to like, you know, feed people's ego. Yo, bro, I'm traveling all like, okay, I stopped eating meat for about 10 years.
And I was also similarly, I didn't eat meat for 5 years.
Right. So
the first thing I ate when I stopped was chicken wings.
Bingo. So I'm back, baby. So I went to Chicago for Will Trey's. He's actually going to be on the show with Phil.
Shout out.
But he is like one of my best friends, and it was his wedding or whatever. And I was like the only person, me and my plus one at the time, like, were the only people who did not eat meat at this entire wedding. So they had like this special thing for us, which was actually delicious, but it was like some trouble getting it out and yada, yada, yada. It came. We were still hungry after. It was like, oh man, we were like super hungry. So when we left the wedding, which was at like Harborside golf course, and we left, and I was like, yo, bro, we got to stop. We got to stop at Harold's. So we stopped at Harold's, my favorite one, which doesn't exist anymore, but on 87th and Dan Ryan, and we slid in there to pick up catfish. I'm picking up catfish. But mind you, like, I'm in a suit, right? I'm with my homie Marlon. He's in a suit. I'm with my plus one, and we are like out there just like waiting. And I get the catfish. Boom, boom, boom. They make it. We leave. We get back to our hotel room, open up the bag, and there's like 4 wings in there. Like, in addition to what we actually ordered, but it was like, I guess they just like dropped them in there because they probably thought we were like tourists or something. Like, what? Why would they come to Harold's and get fish? So they drop it in there. Now, normally, if I was like at home, I would have just like fed it to the dog or something.
Thinking that you just tried to articulate that, like the server at the Harold's was like thinking, these people came to Harold's and ordered fish only.
That's the
I'm
vibe
just
I
put
got.
these wings in there anyway.
Because there's no other reason. We never ordered them. And like, mind you, like my plus one is a white girl. So it's like, we literally like are on the south side of Chicago, like dressed up. She's in a whole like gown, all of this. And it just looked out of pocket. So I think they were like, bro, what are these people doing? But meanwhile, like, I'm born and raised in Chicago, like whatever. So we get back to the hotel. We open it up. normally I would have just given the chicken to Ludo, which is my dog, and he would have devoured it, but he wasn't with us. So we're looking at it, and she's like, yo, that chicken look good. And she had it before, like during one of our previous visits when she was still eating meat. And I'm like, bro, we got to do it. We got to do it. So we ate it. And ever since that wedding, bro, I've been like secretly hooked to chicken, but I would only do Harold's. So it'd only be when I go back to Chicago and I get Harold's. Not no more, bro.
You moved to Texas and that was over.
Bro, discovered Tumble 22, which, yo, we want to sponsor. We want a sponsorship with Tumble 22.
We just want to have like a spread of
just a spread of dang hot chicken wings.
Yo, Harold's, bro. First time I ever smoked weed and got high. First thing I ate high was Harold's.
On Harrison?
Yes.
So good.
So good.
So good. Bro, you can never go wrong. So, like, if you are not from Chicago, you visit Chicago, make sure you go to Harold's. Like, don't even waste your time. Go to Harold's. And then it got to a point where it, like, just devolved from Harold's to I started eating sharks again. And I was just, like, going nuts, bro. And now, like, I'm in Texas. I'm going nuts, and I'm just going all over the place. I had chicken wings from an Indian restaurant inside of a gas station. Okay, that's how crazy it's got. Like, it's an addiction.
He went from fucking vegetarian, damn near vegan, to eating chicken out of a gas station.
Out of a gas station, bro. Like, and it's so good, bro. It's so fire. Like, I gotta bring you something. It's hella expensive. Those like 6 pieces for like $10.99 because apparently there's a chicken shortage or something going on in the world. It's crazy. But then. And then BW Dub, we were doing that for a little bit with Big Unk because I like BW Dub, but I feel like they fell off. Then I just had Pluckers for the first time last weekend in Houston. Bro.
Was not impressed.
What you want are the wings from Rizzo. I'm trying to tell y'all, that's what y'all actually want. And if this takes off.
I'll never give away my secret tool for chicken wings.
That's why we chaining them. That's why we chaining them underground. And he's just going to be down there whipping up chicken. And we'll let him up to come do a show, and then you send him right back down to the basement to go whip up more chicken.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we're doing for you. And then we're going to pair it with beer or something. So that's I have a whole idea, bro. Like, this dude's making or you just got to share the recipe with Big Unk, and then Unk will handle that. Because we could have, like, a side-by-side food truck. Would y'all come to the side-by-side food truck, bro?
Let us know in the comments.
Let us know. We're going to pair beer with chicken. Chicken and beer. That was Ludacris's third album, right? Chicken and Beer. We're gonna pair that. And you can come meet us and hang out, and maybe we'll have some giveaways. Maybe some giveaways to the games or whatever. Well, potentially, we'll see.
Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves yet.
Okay. Well, he doesn't want you guys to come to the game.
One last thing. I always watch podcasts, and I'm always like, why did they choose that stuff on their set and all that? And like, is it just meaningless or whatever?
Yeah.
And no. I want to make a point that on our podcast, we're going to talk about the little accoutrement that we add to the set.
Love it.
And obviously, you can see here a few things. I'll start.
Okay.
So I put Bubba here.
Who's Bubba?
My big homie from the day I was born.
Wow.
So this is my baby bear that I've had since I was literally fresh out the womb.
Love it.
Had him ever since. And then across from Bubba, we got the Aztec Death Whistle. I heard about these things. They're super cool, crazy. Feels like you're conjuring the dead to come.
Give it a blow, bro. Let them know.
I'm gonna
super
try.
Creepy.
This is gonna be weird. It sets Tux off, so if you hear a dog barking, he's actually right here. He came. How fortuitous was that? The moment I pick up the thing that he hates the most in the house is like he came in here to hang out.
Let's set him off.
All right, here we go. Hang on.
Dude, that's a death call.
He barked.
Yeah, he barked.
So this guy makes a handmix. It's all right, buddy. You're okay. You're okay.
He's here to protect us.
Okay, we'll put it away. Don't worry. I know it makes you mad. But yeah, that thing is sweet. Then definitely got to have the herbs burning.
Sage.
Keep the vibes right. And then you brought our dear friend.
I brought, this is like my favorite person. Top 3 for sure. of people that I would definitely.
love Malcolm, by the
I
way.
feel like
It's
a
one
lot
of
of
my
people
favorites.
sleep, and he's like a lot of people hate on him because of things that he did earlier in his career, and just a lot of.
Gotta read the autobiography.
Got to read the autobiography, and you also
perfect.
have to go and read a lot of his speeches. And if you watch, any of his debates against these like liberals way back in the '60s, I mean, he was just crushing them, and they couldn't understand it. And then they did a follow-up 30 years later or something in 1992 of those people that he was arguing with, and they all were like, he was right. Mm-hmm. He was right. We didn't understand it. He was just so far ahead of his time.
Yeah.
And big fan, like top 3 of all time for me, like up there. Like it's like Jesus, and then like Malcolm, and then maybe like Kanye or something. So it's like top 3, dog. Like it's
And then we have this is my record collection beneath. A lot of records.
And you got the guitars that have
got my
some type
guitars.
of meaning. They're like family, right?
So that was my first. This is my first guitar. My brother gifted me a long time ago for Christmas one year. I've written most of my songs on this guitar.
Did you say rodent? I love it.
Oh, sorry, written. I don't know why. Must be
he's
time
drinking coffee.
Must be time to end the podcast. Brandon's saying roten, which is not even a fucking word.
No, let's make up a word. Hashtag rodent, bro.
Written most of my songs on that. And then this is my Gretsch, was the second guitar I got. Actually, this is secretly my favorite current guitar. Don't tell her that, but it's my favorite guitar. But this is my electric. And actually, the story of how I got this was sick. And then I got my bass over on the right shoulder.
Love it.
So,
no, it's exciting. And so we'll, kind of try to switch out the props as we go along. But, man, thanks for joining us.
This has been fun, man.
It's been so much fun, dude. I love you, bro.
First podcast.
Come on,
love
man.
you too, bro. This is awesome.
And yeah, man, thanks for being here with us today.
Absolutely.
You can follow him at Rizzo Feels.
Correct.
And you can follow me at JudahClan on any platform.
And don't forget to follow Elusis Media Group.
Please. That's where we're going to be dropping a lot of stuff. Until we're side by side next week. Peace.